What would be the worst thing to hear as you're going under anesthesia before a surgery? Before we begin, do us a favor by clicking that like button, and subscribe to our channel for more top Reddit stories every day. Actually happened to me story. Had surgery at Walter Reed Army Medical Center while I was in the service. Right shoulder, they were prepping me beforehand and I was in a bed sitting up with my shirt off. On my shoulder, they drew a large R with a circle around it in purple marker and then had me sign my name underneath it, so they did the correct one. Then they gave me something to start putting me under. It took a few minutes and I started feeling pretty drowsy. Next, a nurse came in and inserted and taped down an 4-line in my right forearm and told me they were giving me whatever was going to knock me all the way out. Then they started cleaning my left shoulder with iodine, and the last thing I heard as I was going out was, "You're doing the wrong one." Found out later that a lot of the people involved with the surgery were still in training. At least the surgeon knew what he was doing though, and he did the correct shoulder. I had knee surgery as a teenager. The doctor brought me a Sharpie and told me to circle the correct knee and put an X on the other, then he left the room. So I did exactly as instructed. Then I drew arrows to the circle and wrote "operate here" and drew more X's on the other leg and wrote "do not touch." I sat there bored for another 30 minutes writing random stuff all over my body like, "You can't have my appendix and why are you looking up here? Focus on the knee." I even had my mom write on my back something like, "If you can read this, wrong side, flip me over." Then I covered up with the sheet and the anesthesiologist showed up. I was told that I said some weird stuff while I was going under, but that is a different story. The surgery went fine. I had to stay in the hospital overnight. When the doctor came into my room to check on me, he said that I had thrown off their schedule because when they uncovered me and saw all of the notes that they laughed for 10 minutes. When they finally got their composure, they rolled me up on my side to get me onto the operating table and saw the note on my back and lost it again. He said that the surgery started about 30 minutes later than it was supposed to, thanks to my drawings and notes. I almost lost my right toe in a bicycle accident. My mom carried me to the family car and drove me to the hospital. Before I underwent surgery, the doctor said, "If this doesn't work, we might have to cut your foot off to avoid a staph infection." Thank God the surgery was successful. Who TF says that to a 9-year-old? My toe also had some toes badly damaged. They went to the local hospital, and the doctor straight out said, "All we can do here is to amputate from ankle down to prevent infection." They ended up flying him to the capital and saved his foot, minus 3 toes. Edit, he was 7. Sounds like that doctor is a collector of children's feet. Not before, but during. My mom was having some major surgery done on her knee, I think. The sleeping gas petered out and she woke up, but still wasn't feeling pain. She heard them hammering and drilling with power tools and looked up to see what was going on. A nurse noticed her, slammed her head down before she could see and told her, "Don't look." My nan had her knee replacement done under local because general would probably have killed her. Because she wanted to watch but couldn't fully sit up, the surgeons wired up their recording kit to a big screen TV. Even let her have a copy. The NHS fucking rocks. That's similar to my great-gran. She had to have throat surgery 2 weeks before her 100th birthday. The only problem was she had to be under local anesthetic, so she had surgery on her throat while fully conscious. It still amazes me that she did that. She is now 101 and still going strong. Definitely a member of the Badass Gran Club. Tongue. My nan is sadly no longer with us, but I'm sure my mum still has that recording somewhere. We're doing the left, right. I work at a hospital and part of the safety training we have to go through actually discusses always using correct instead of right because it commonly leads to mistake. They mentioned that it's easy to tell when an employee is new at this point because they'll say right during a meeting, meaning correct, and it sounds weird to everyone else. I had a surgery where I wrote "not this leg" in Sharpie on the leg that was not being operated on. I thought it would get a laugh or maybe some irritation. Instead they thought it was smart, which was actually a little scary. You have no idea how many people go through a situation like that. It's worse when it's like, your leg amputation went off without a hitch. I wanted a hysterectomy. Not exactly the same, but it's funny. When I had my sinus surgery, I remember them wheeling me back and going over everything that was about to happen. However, I was unaware that when they do surgery on your face, upper body at least, they strap your arms down. Which definitely seems obvious to me now, because definitely no one wants a flailing arm knocking the doctor while he's performing surgery on your face. But they didn't mention it, so I didn't think about it. So we get back to the surgery room, they put the mask on me and tell me to start counting. While I was counting, they proceeded to strap my arms down in multiple places, which makes me panic. I stop counting and go, wait, guys, can we talk about this? That's the last thing I remember before going under. Then I woke up in recovery, and everyone thought it was hilarious. That was the last thing I said before I was out. I'm no medical person, but that seems to be the kind of thing they would usually wait until you're under for, so as not to worry you. Like the time I had tonsils out and got a general and they start talking about what they're gonna do, but someone, the anesthetist, kind of says, shh, he's not out yet. Like it didn't freak me out, cause it seemed they merely didn't want to worry me or freak me out. And I kind of liked having that sneak peek of what they are actually doing and thinking about. It is really, really weird how inexact a science anesthesiology is, and how to control the dosage. They literally have to guess how much to give you and keep an eye out for whether you seem to be waking up. That's why good anesthesiologists make bank. It's a balancing act of keeping you properly sedated for the whole procedure, but also minimizing the time it takes for you to wake up once they're done, so they can get you out and bring someone else in. Faster turnaround means more money for the hospital, and anesthesiologists are compensated accordingly. I had to get a bone spur removal when I was 13. My anesthesiologist looked at my chart and said, "Sweet 16, you have a car yet?" At least he was better with dosage math than age math, because I'm not dead. In their defense, if your date of birth was written by the doctor, it was probably illegible. Either 13 or B years old. Thankfully my malpractice insurance is up to date. That last Jack and Coke was a bit wee. There was a spinal surgeon who was regularly on cocaine while doing surgeries. He killed or injured 12 people before he was fired. True story. Christopher Dunch is his name, and there's a pretty neat podcast called Dr. Death, at least on Spotify, about him. It's really worth listening to, because it sadly wasn't as easy as just firing him from the hospitals. The UK Dr. Death was a dude called Harold Shipman who killed old patients off with morphine, heroin, overdoses. He was jailed for life for the murder of 15 patients, but a public inquiry into his crimes estimated he killed up to 250 of them. Okay, that's enough anesthesia. He is definitely out now and completely unconscious. Time to start the drilling. Anesthesia awareness, or nurse here. A lot of times the body will react to pain even when the patient is completely out. The heart rate or blood pressure goes up suddenly, or the patient will start moving or wiggling. The anesthesia team will titrate the meds to deepen the anesthesia. We don't ever want the patient in pain, even if they won't remember it. We try hard. Anesthesiologists are amazing folks. So are most or nurses. I had a real bitchy one for my emergency C-section, but the others were amazing. Thanks for doing what you do. Here's a tape being inserted into a VCR. Hi there. Welcome to the first video in the So This Is Your First Surgery series. Today, we learn about open heart surgery. Hello, I'm Troy McClure. You may remember me from other instructional videos such as Slice or Dice, an amputation guide, or which hole is the best hole for this surgery. Over the course of the next few hours I will show you the do's and the do's not of performing advanced level surgery. Is that a motherfucking Simpsons reference? Not exactly the same, but it's funny. When I had my sinus surgery, I remember them wheeling me back and going over everything that was about to happen. However, I was unaware that when they do surgery on your face, upper body at least, they strap your arms down. Which definitely seems obvious to me now, because definitely no one wants a flailing arm knocking the doctor while he's performing surgery on your face. But they didn't mention it, so I didn't think about it. So we get back to the surgery room, they put the mask on me and tell me to start counting. While I was counting, they proceeded to strap my arms down in multiple places, which makes me panic. I stop counting and go, wait. Guys, can we talk about this? That's the last thing I remember before going under. Then I woke up in recovery, and everyone thought it was hilarious. That was the last thing I said before I was out. When I was being prepped for surgery, the nurses were joking with the anesthesiologist about the work Christmas party the night before. I asked whether I should be worried. They said the surgeon was wearing a hula girl outfit and dancing on the table. They swore me to secrecy. I don't specifically recall, but the nurses told me when the surgeon turned up, I said to him, I hear you have a nice pair of coconuts, before I passed out. It was the 90s. Life was simpler then. Not before, but during. My mom was having some major surgery done on her knee, I think. The sleeping gas petered out and she woke up, but still wasn't feeling pain. She heard them hammering and drilling with power tools and looked up to see what was going on. A nurse noticed her, slammed her head down before she could see and told her, "Don't look. We're doing the left, right. I had a surgery where I wrote "not this leg" in Sharpie on the leg that was not being operated on. I thought it would get a laugh or maybe some irritation. Instead they thought it was smart, which was actually a little scary. You have no idea how many people go through a situation like that. It's worse when it's like, your leg amputation went off without a hit. I wanted a hysterectomy when I had my knee operated on last year, just before going into surgery, as I was signing my life away and such. My surgeon came over and said, "Don't worry, I know full well which knee we're operating on, but I need you to take this Sharpie and mark for yourself which knee it is." I really appreciated that moment, and hadn't realized until that moment the possibility of just going under, assuming everyone knew what we were doing. Thank you for watching this fantastic story. Please tap one of the 4 videos on the screen for another amazing top Reddit stories.